Greetings, dear friends. Are you ready for the final push? In this lesson, we'll try to finish our header. We basically need to do two small things. The first, Z is active for navigation. The current page should be highlighted with a color. And the second point is responsive for our navigation, so that on mobile versions it looks like this. This part will take a little time, but no worries, we will implement it. Let's get started. Starting with something simple, let's add a style for the current page. We basically have two brand colors. We can take one of them and add it to our variables. Do you have our variables file? It has only one value for both the light and dark versions, so duplicating it in the dark version doesn't matter. Since we are not changing its value, we don't duplicate it, but we will need the variable as we will often use it in the layout. Next, let's probably go back to the site and see. We need to navigate to a page, sample page, which is a static page. By default, we navigate to it, and WordPress, since this is a block of WordPress itself, should add a dynamic class. And indeed, there is such a dynamic class, current menu item, which we attach to. It's on the WP, block pages, list item. So I didn't notice that we don't have such a class. WP block navigation item, but I think we have this one. Yes, we have this one, so we will attach to it. And we will set this color. Wonderful. And in the drop-down, we also had this menu item. Also great. It's there. We currently have a dark background, so it's hard to read here. Let's look at it on the dark. It's easier to read on the dark. In the light version, because of the dark background, this color isn't contrasting, but actually, according to the design, we don't have a black background here. This is temporary for now. At this moment, I still don't like it. This alignment, let's see, they wrapped it. But we basically have align center set. Let's set it to flex end. So flex end aligns it to the bottom edge, and visually it looks better. But I'm not sure that flex end will help us. It just aligns along the bottom line. You can simply add a few pixels of margin top to the navigation and also fix this situation. I assume it's the font rendering this way in this project. I'm not sure. At first glance, I don't see any additional classes that could be doing this. Maybe they exist, but I think it's not worth spending time on it. And in the current position, it fits perfectly. So let's write this into the code. Also, another point I noticed is that our arrow differs from our layout. We haven't set the arrow yet. So let's try to fix this now. So here the arrow is set to this class. Inside it, within the SVG. Of course, we can't change this SVG in the current position because we need to go to the source code, but we can easily fix it through CSS. First, we'll disable the default SVG. Next, let's take the SVG that we need. Let's convert this candle into SE with a background, copy. for our block. Let's see what kind of body it has. We can apply it directly, or we can use a pseudo element. Let's use a pseudo element. So position it relative, create a pseudo element, beacon, make sure there is no permanent element. I didn't notice any element, so we don't have any yet. And of course I inserted it, but didn't specify the background. So we've already lost it. Let's copy it again. Then let's see where it is positioned and adjust the other styles, like so it bothers us. And in the design. Of course, let's recall the original size. So essentially, its size is 24 and the gap is 8 pixels. To avoid mistakes, let's do it this way. Set its width and height to 24 pixels. And set the margin left to 8 pixels. And in this case, we no longer need the pseudo element. We can, I think, directly on this element and set the background image Yes, much better. Let's now make sure that have some padding, and not everyone has it. Only this specific button has this right padding. It needs to be reset. And the rest will be exactly like in the layout. Although by eye there is still some there. 1 to 2 pixels due to the letter spacing from the text itself. And this margin left is not 8, but we'll make it 6. Much better. Our SVG is essentially set as static, and when the color scheme changes, it also remains black. To fix this, we have a special class on the body for dark mode game store, so we'll attach to it. We go into our CSS. Basically, here at the end, there will be people. We add our dark mode. We'll select the class with this icon. It's long because it is generated right from the root of the block. And we'll assign it a different background. A different background. We need to prepare it now. It is white in color. In one of the lessons, I mentioned that this approach, I accidentally pressed the wrong combination. This approach makes us write the same styles twice, and that's what it is. This is the very case where we can't set a variable in this code just because the color changes. I can't set a variable here in the line white. CSS won't recognize it. The preprocessor also won't be able to compile it. For this reason, there is an approach that we used just now. And now, this icon is also displayed well in the dark version. We have an icon with a drop-down menu available in the navigation at the second position, so we can move it and see how it looks. We enter the navigation. Select the navigation and drag our store to the position after home. And it also looks decent. It looks just like in our layout. So, having implemented the accessible version, we move on to the mobile version for the mobile version. Look at what happens in the previous lesson. I showed how it looks. But if I start to reduce it now, you see what happens, because we changed the style. Our mobile version no longer works as it should, because we need to use mobile first in the layout. Therefore, the code we wrote, we will now transfer to a different screen size. I will try now to check at what screen size our mobile appears. So, it appears exactly at 600. So, we will latch onto this breakpoint, which means we essentially need a media query with a minimum width breakpoint of 600 pixels. Next, we take this entire group, cut it from here and paste it here. Right now, nothing breaks because we are on a layout over 600 pixels. However, when we switch to a smaller layout, our WordPress navigation works. Next, let's deal with the icons. We are interested in the icons. In the header, here we have a pop-up. We don't see it because there's a mask on top, but we have them in the components. Here they are, which means we have icons that change. Firstly, the burger icon with 3 lines, and secondly, the member area button turns into such an icon. And let's export from here. While it looks like this, yes, for us, well, it's not black, it will be. There's just no white variation here. It will be white for us. But we need to make the first state look like this. Let's move on. We'll search in the right section. Here's the link. Here we can do the opposite, so we don't have to edit the existing code. If we set it for the minimum here, we'll make another media query. But this is time for max. And essentially, the styles we write here will apply to small screens up to 600, and therefore I can take advantage of this by setting styles for this member area button. Copying it. Cool. So first of all, we reset the font size. We remove the outline. width, height. There. Let's take a look. Here we have a large icons here, 36. We copied the core, but the icon itself is large, 36. We'll set it like this here. We will enlarge. We'll take the icon. Again, don't forget that this icon will need two variations. Right now it's the variation for the dark version. So here I've made a hit. Mod Game Store. I'll transfer. And for the light version, we'll make it now. So let's enable the mode on the file. Update. And of course, we add it as a background, which means we also need a background position. And background repeat. Should be disabled. So, didn't get, but I reset my styles. These need to be set after the background because I didn't set the background and just created a background, and essentially I reset it. That's why it doesn't see the changes. All right, we figured this out. The icon. We have 36. Yes, 36. The cart looks a bit elevated, and overall the other icons also look somewhat uneven at first glance. Although no, 36 everywhere, 36 everywhere. But still, you see, there's some discrepancy, something about them pulls them down. Nothing here with 40. So the padding needs to be reset for this button. Otherwise everything is fine. Now everything is 36. Next we are interested in this section, the group. Essentially, the right section will always have a width of 180 pixels because it contains the same icons, and they have a fixed width. Therefore, we can set a width for this VIP block group inside the inner header in order to align it with these icons. Let's try the following trick. So, we will probably write this in this breakpoint as well. So, I am in the winner header. We'll use the width on the WP group, using the function to calculate 100% minus. In this section, we also have an area measuring 8 pixels in size, which is consistent with the previous measurements we discussed. We've a gap of 12, so the gap on the right section, we will reduce it to 8. Here, 80 pixels. So we will give 100% minus these 180. Move on. We will also set display flex here. Flex direction row. It will arrange them exactly as we need further. Line items center. I see more icons, some icon. We remove in the layout, so there are searches from dark mode, but there's no cart here. I don't think we will remove the cart. Let the logo just be smaller. But hiding the payout icon is not worth it. And the margin on this navigation. Is fine. On the edges, we have 32 according to the layout, 16 on the edges. Loga, which is located at 147 in the city of Let's go down to 140. After all, we added a whole icon there. All right, and the last point, we need to flatten the icon from this section into this right section. Therefore, here, for the group, justify tag content, spaces between, and this trick will push the icon away into this section. Next, we style this icon. Find the class we need, so it's this one. Button. With this class, again, we write all the styles specifically in this breakpoint, because when this breakpoint increases, beyond 600, all these styles kind of disappear. And they won't ruin our layout. Since, again, we don't have access here, inside, we will use the approach through CSS. We took this color for the light version. Next, the width and height. 24 pixels width, 25 pixels height. Here I see it as 25. What else do we have here? Available? Yes, great. Inside the SVG, we have to remove it. So just on the tag inside, add display icon. Next. We compare with the design. It seems like some kind of squashed icon, but it does have rounded edges, so it really is. It just looks like that. Let's take for the dark version. As you can see, indeed, we have a dark mode feature, which is quite useful for many users here. Inside this breakpoint, yes, inside this breakpoint there is a dark mode, so we will add an icon to it. I have not yet added the class to the project. At this point, my intention is to take the existing class from this location, copy it carefully, and then proceed to integrate it into the project. This will include adding the background feature, ensuring that it aligns with the overall design and functionality. By doing so, I aim to enhance the visual appeal and user experience of the application. And one more thing, I set its size to 24, although the neighboring icons are all 36. It should be increased, otherwise they will not be centered properly. In other words, they will be misaligned. 36, 37. Well then let's add background center, background position center, and background.repeat with no repetitions. So next we have a little bit of some gap. Inner main header, and it doesn't quite suit us. We need to make it 8 pixels. So let's go up to inner header, add web, 8 pixels. So what else could be here? We had a gap of 12, we reduced it to 8, and consequently the width has already become 168, and we used a different width, so here it's 168, and this gap, in principle, we don't have a gap there at all. It was just a value above normal. Therefore, this is also above normal. All right, now it's better. Okay. There's something else. The thing is, you see, our icons are actually 36, but in fact their parent is 42, as you might know. 42. Why? It's because line height is also in effect. Let's set it to 0. See, when I set line height to 0, it stretches into one line. So this line height, we need to apply it in principle to all these divs in right section. Let's find right section. Here it is. Next, all the divs and their line height will be set to 0. Everything is great. Moving on, by the way, yes, we need to bring back the gap. We need to bring back the gap. Right now, there's no spacing at all. I might have confused you with all this, but slowly you'll look at it carefully. And even better, do it yourself without my video, because when it comes to layout in CSS, there is no right way. It's like a construction set, and you do it as you see fit. That's all. In this way, for the dark version, you see our repeater was not working correctly. We will fix it as follows. We will set this background not in this location, but specifically in dark, as a background image in this particular setting, so that it doesn't override other background options. And there I think we had another background in the dark version. I don't see it, no big deal. We'll fix it later if needed, update it. Well, now it's indeed definitely good in dark for us. Yes, truly, absolutely in light. Perfect. Next, the ultimate and essentially final touch is the logo. It needs to be brought above the pop-up. Let's try through this index. Such a large, unrealistically large number. Yes, splendid. Here it is above the pop-up. Okay, then I'll copy this large Z index for myself, just to be sure, and ensure everything is correct. Of the logo. Here it is, my logo. This is the index. Now, we are interested in the background image. So how do I copy it? Here, I think it's here. I think this container also has dynamic elements added to it. You see, there's an extra class with contrast color with background. And they take these styles from JSON, although we need these kinds of styles. We will override. There is no other way here. Let's try to catch this blue background and replace it. It is dynamic. Applied from a JSON file. We need to override it. So this class looks like this. When it is open, it adds from the open menu. Apparently and now we will try to connect our background image. Let's take it. Also, use a breakpoint, this one with a maximum screen of 600. I will also use our main container from the block, so that the style I wrote, if in the future somewhere else, I will use the navigation block so that they are not overwritten in that place. And it is important to me to be dynamic from the menu open by Bronca. Let's temporarily set it to black. Yes, this is indeed the block we need. Instead of black, now we need to take this picture. We can export it this way and overlay a mask on top, or we can export the entire picture with the mask to save time, so to speak, since it won't be from the admin panel. We are not setting a file upload field in the admin panel to save time, although we could easily create such a field using a component. However, throughout this course, we use a bunch of components for file uploads. Therefore, here I will set it in PNG format. Next, I will have a separate EMG directory in my block, and I will drag it here. I will rename it. To mobile, such as here we will just load it imaging, mobile, background size, color, and background, repeat. No repetitions. Of course, not borderless. Color a background and match. Background, color. Transparent. I think we don't need important. Yes, wonderful. Next, we have this shifts because there is this toolbar for the visitors of this toolbar, and if it won't be. You can bother with it, but again, it will take a lot of time to raise it for the administrator. Remove this top margin padding, which Word represents. I won't do it because it really takes a lot of time. When we open the navigation, the admin has this toolbar here, but it hides and it seems that everything shifts down here. You can handle it this way. For example, add this index to this toolbar as well as to the logo. And when the admin logs in, there won't be such a big shift. This arrow rather needs to be aligned with the logo. And the navigation itself, lower it even more. So let's take this one class with the content of this specific navigation. Add styles to it. First of all, in the remainder, add to it using the sneeze calc function. Give it 100% of everything we have, but pull out the top bar. Further overflow. And let's make it so there's no scrolling. Using autofill, exactly what I need. I'll handle this differently. I'll remove it from here and put it here inside. Here, overflow. I will hide it. So, perfectly. I won't lift this thing. Leaving it as it is. It doesn't concern me at all. Interested. Let's also add here. Yes. So the path offset is already better. So this button can be moved lower. Like this, 24 pixels. Alright, now let's simulate a small window. The scroll works perfectly. In principle, I think that's enough. We spent a lot of time on this mobile menu. If there's a desire, we can return to it later and make some more adjustments if necessary. Let's also make sure that the accessible version is still functioning correctly. Everything is fine on the accessible version. The drop down also works, and the color scheme change works as well. On the mobile version, the color scheme, it's the same as for light or dark, it's the same. The mobile version works the same. Let's finish here. See you in the next lesson.